This is Chris, the Idaho Painter, here on Paint Life TV. Today I'm going to be painting some bare wood cabinet doors. So if you want to see me spray these things, sand them, spray them again right here in this spray booth, giving you some tips and tricks, stay tuned for this video. All right, so I'm getting set up to spray my doors. So I'm going to be spraying today using an airless sprayer, and I'm going to be using a water-based PU. I've gone away from using flammable lacquers or oil-based products just because of liability. And these industrial coatings, these waterborne coatings, are absolutely amazing. Will give you a factory-like finish. Today I'm going to be using a Renner product, 1245, with a cross linker to give it some more chemical resistance and a little bit more durability. So I'm going to start spraying here very soon. I've got a Titan 440 set up, 440 impact. I'm going to be using a 310 tip, a fine finish tip from Titan. Got the RX Pro gun. My pressure is set at the pump. A Titan 440 doesn't have a gauge, but I hooked up a Titan HEA gauge to the pump. So at the pump, I'm running around 1800 PSI to spray these doors. I'm going to be spraying, I only got 6 of them, so I'm going to be spraying them on a spray twirly right here from Paint Line, spraying them down. I'll be spraying the backs first, sanding them using my inspection light to make sure these things come out like glass and perfect with no imperfections. And I'll be stacking them on the small spray stack, and then I'll be flipping them over and doing the opposite side. So we're gonna get going with spraying the backs of these things. I'm gonna show you what it looks like using the inspection light to make sure you don't have any imperfections, on these doors, and then we'll get painting. So here we go. All right, so I got my inspection light and table, sanding table set up right here. Got my Ecosand dustless sander set up where I'll be doing any type of sanding I need to do. And you see I got my inspection light, and the benefit to this is being able to set your drawer front or door front on a table like this in front of a bright light. You'll be able to pick up on any type of imperfections that you might not catch just without any type of lighting assistance. I've got a big nick right here on it. I'm gonna be checking fronts and back before I do any type of spraying and do any type of repairs. So this nick, a lot of the little nicks and dings, you can just sand them right out. This one's pretty deep, so I'll be using Bondo to fill that one. I'll begin checking all my doors and drawers here one by one to see if there's anything. These were just done custom made by a cabinet shop, sanded. I would think that all of them are in pretty good shape. This one right here, there's a little tiny imperfection right there. That's something that would actually just sand right out. I've got my dustless Ecosand Series 2 vacuum setup right here, hooked up to my sander. So I'm just gonna be looking at these all really quickly to see if there's anything major I need to repair on them. I just see one that's I could sand out. This one doesn't have anything on it. Looks good, excellent. There's a little pinhole right there. I'm not sure what that is, but we can fill that. So I'm just gonna be inspecting these. It's very important to inspect first, do any filling first. After the first coat, that'll be our self-seal coat. Then we're gonna be inspecting them once again and see if there's anything that we didn't catch the first time. That'll be our last opportunity to do any filling, and then we'll be shooting our top coat. Hopefully your top coat, after you inspect them when they're all done, there's no filling to do. All I see is there's one door, a couple little spots. This one right here is a little spot right here that we could sand out right there. So we'll be working on that. And last one, we've only got 6 to do. So here's the last one. Nothing major. We've got some nicks and dings right here. These will all sand out right here. I don't need to do any filling. So there's only 2 that need to be filled. Here's a little spot right here, a little spot right here. Those will all sand out. Show you my sander setup I got. I've got multiple different grits, types of sponge sanding. Got anywhere from medium to fine to super fine. These doors are been sanded really well. So I'm not going to use anything but just super fine or very fine on them. and then we'll get going. So I also got some pad savers I'm going to be using. So I got show you my EcoSand sander right here. This is a 3x4 sander. If you do any type of cabinet painting, especially professionally, this is the sander. It's a must-have, absolute must-have tool right here. So 3x4 sander. You always want to have a pad saver on it in case you wear through. You don't want to damage the pad. It's a lot easier to replace a pad saver than it is the pad on your sander. Got it set on there. This is a dustless sander, so it's got 4 holes to take up the dust. Now I'm going to be taking and sanding. I don't got any contours to work around. There's nothing that needs to be sanded on these edges. So I'm just going to be using some flat sandpaper right here. I'm going to look for, I've got 100 grit, got multiple grits. I'm going to be looking for some 150 grit flat sandpaper right here. Got my multiple grits of EcoSilk right here. So here's a couple 150s. I don't think we'll need more than 2. All right, so we're gonna be looking for the ones I needed to sand. I had 2 that needed, this one is, you could tilt it back and forth and you can see really, really good. This one is in great shape, no sanding, ready to spray. Typically fill the ones that need Bondo, I'd fill those first, but since I'm filming right here, I'm like this one's got spot needs to be Bondoed. So I gotta go get my Bondo. I don't have it right here yet, so I'm skipping that process for just a second here. The Bondo dries really fast, dries a lot harder than spackle. It's better for filling small nicks and dings. Here's the one that had some spots on the face that need to be sanded. All right, I'm beginning to do my first coat on my seal coat on the backs of the doors. I always want to do the backs of the doors first. So when their final coat is done, they're setting on the backs that's finished. So you're not finishing up with your backs and having them set on the front of the door. That's going to be what everybody's going to see in the end. So always do the backs first. Seal coat's going to go on. This is not the top coat, so I'm not so concerned about just getting this amazing layer on there, but I want to get a good seal coat. I'm going to be spraying it one way and then cross hatching it the other way. So I got my sprayer ready to go, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. Get the dust. So now if you're not vacuuming or dusting them off, you can just brush them off with a duster brush. Typically when I spray with an HVLP sprayer, I just unhook the gun and I blow it off before I spray it. But with an airless sprayer, you don't have that luxury. So you're gonna have to dust it off right here. Prior to my top coat, I wanna make sure these things are dusted and cleaned really good after I'm done doing the final sand and prior to doing my top coat. Now I've got my spray booth set up right here. I'm not inside of a house. So I don't have a ventilation system, taking everything outside of the house. We've got it all vented right out this garage door. Any dust can just carry right outside the garage door right here. And all it is just going to be dry dust, anything that falls or actually carries outside. Let's a good look at that first coat. Already looks nice and glassy. All right, one other pro tip I want to explain. I got my doors, I'm stacking in there. You definitely want to stack from top down. If you stack from bottom up as you slide doors in there, if there's any dust or anything or debris that comes off the door or your hands or anything, it's going to fall down on your freshly painted doors that you just did. So always go top down when you're stacking them. One thing I also want to explain is, airless spraying versus HVLP spraying. So one of the benefits to HVLP spraying is you're not going to lose so much. You can see there's a whole lot of overspray falling down on the ground right here. So you're losing a lot in overspray. So you're going to go through more product. You can put it on heavier, having it lay down like this. You can put on a nice heavy coat. And one thing good about these industrial waterborne PUs is they can be sprayed with an airless sprayer and you don't have to thin them like you do with an HVLP sprayer. We're always having to thin our products, typically like around 10-15% with going through an HVLP. But with airless, it's nice and convenient, not having to thin your products, being able to spray them unthin, getting a nice heavy coat. Also, I do like spray and hanging because you can do both sides, at one time, but we only got 6 doors to do. So I'm not in a hurry on this project. So I can do, just do 6 doors laying down flat all in one day. I'm going to show you. So I just got done with my 6 doors, sprayed all of them. This is the very first one I sprayed. It's almost dry now. It's dry to the touch in some spots. There's just a few spots that are wet. And that's one of the great things about these industrial 1K PUs. You got 1Ks and 2K PUs, and they dry extremely fast, unlike your typical water-based paints that you'd use from on cabinets that you'd get from your do-it-yourself stores or your local paint stores. These are just great products. So they dry super fast and they sand really easy. So I'll be able to sand this in about 10 minutes and then shoot my next coat on it. Or you can flip it over, sand the opposite side, do your primer on the opposite side, and then come back and do your top coat on the back. So we'll let these things dry. It's the paneling, not the most ideal paneling that goes in the center of these things because it does raise the grain up a little bit. You're going to have to do a little bit of sanding to smooth that out, but it's sealed. We're going to get ready to do some sanding and show you what it looks like. So there's only a couple spots that needed to be bondoed. One of them, this little pinhole showed up, after spraying, and we're going to just take and put a little bit of Bondo. I don't need much, just a tiny bit. Bondo dries extremely fast. So I need to Bondo that one, but you can see how these panels aren't ideal for panels because it raises the grain a lot. So there's a lot of sanding to get them really smooth. The final product, but that's what our 3x4 sander for, so I had another one that had a pretty good ding on it. And it must be the very bottom one. And it's not. How'd I miss it? There's 6. It's somewhere. I must have skipped one somewhere. It's not the top one. There it is. So this little nick right here, that's the only other thing I needed a Bondo in all of this. So you can see I'm going to we'll start priming. I'm going to sand this and do my opposite sides. Or so I'm going to sand this right now, the back sides, and then shoot my primer on my opposite sides. Let's see here. I didn't say that right. Try to say it. Okay. All right, now we're going to sand our back sides and then prime our front sides. So I'm using a heavier grit. I'm using just my flat sandpaper right here, the 150, to be a little bit more aggressive to sand these panels to get them flat and smooth. On this outside, it's already smooth. I don't want to burn through to the wood, so I'm using a super fine sponge, 1/2-inch sponge to hit the sides. So one of the reasons why I've chosen to start using EcoSand sanders and their EcoSilk pads is, man, they're the best sanding pads that I've used. They last a long time, cut really good. It's a great product. The sander, these 3x4 sanders, great for doing cabinet doors. They're small, easy to work with, and are very versatile tools when it comes to, like I say, sanding doors. I can change pads, change different size sponges, and sand away. Now I can begin, I'm gonna dust them off. And one thing I've noticed too from using these water-based products, that if you start sanding them, a little bit early, what happens is the dust itself is a little bit heavy because I think it's a little bit saturated with moisture. So it doesn't completely do dust-free sanding 100%, but you can see I sanded all these doors right here, and I've hardly got any dust. Didn't have to use a respirator. So the sanding system is excellent for doing dust-free sanding. If I would have let them dry for maybe another hour more, it would have actually picked up more of the dust because the dust wouldn't have been weighted down with moisture. So now I'm going to spray the opposite side. I'm going to prime my opposite sides, and then we'll do hard top coat on the backs. show you on our booth here. So we got our booth facing outside. That way we don't have to have any type of ventilation system because it got, all this fresh air, moving in and out. I'm spraying that direction, which the whole entire booth, bottom, top sides is all sealed. You are getting some dust coming outside, and it's not wet overspray. So you can see on this floor right here, the epoxy floor, that's just dry dust. Now, if you're concerned about, overspray, once I'm all done, this is all with just a blower. It'll blow right off, or just wipe right off with just, a rag and some soap and water, because it's just simply silica dust. If you're concerned about that, you could just even throw a drop cloth out a little ways. That way is when you're stepping out onto a drop cloth. So I'm not concerned about the dust because I always clean up at the end of the day and wipe things down, clean things up. And it is, once again, just dry dust floating outside the spray booth. Now you could actually just even put more drop cloths a little bit farther out, but it's all settling, right here. It's all going back towards the back of the booth, and you can see where I'm standing right there. But I'm spraying in that direction. I'm not standing on the sides and spraying to the direction where wet droplets of paint are coming outside the booth. So I'm continuing right along. I've got both sides primed now. We got front and back primed. Now I'm going to start spraying the back sides. So we'll get our final coat on the back sides. We've already sanded the back sides. We'll let them dry and do our final coat on the front side. And I'll give you some tips and tricks when it comes to spraying too. So I know some people are gonna ask probably, do I caulk panels? And when I'm doing repaints on existing cabinets, there are occasions when I do caulk the panels, and I got a video explaining when and why I do that. When it comes to new wood panels, I never caulk the panels because I want them to look like a factory finish, and you won't get gap bridging if you spray properly and use proper products and use proper techniques. So getting ready, I do on my final coat, I'm gonna be very particular about dusting things off. I got my air compressor. I don't want any dust on my final coat. So I'm gonna dust these off really well. And then we'll get going spraying. All right, now I'm going to begin. We've changed our process a couple times in doing this, and I'm going to be doing my final coat on my backs. But before I do the final coat, I want to sand my seal coat on the front of the doors. That way, after I do my top coat on this side, I'm not laying it down and sanding while that top coat is facing down on the paper. So I'm going to be sanding now our seal coat on all the doors to get these ready for their final coats on both sides. So again, I'm using a flat sanding piece of sandpaper, a 150 on the flat surface right here. And on the outside, I'm gonna be using a super fine sponge right here, 1/2-inch sponge. So you can see there's my inspection light is showing one little spot, and this is probably the spot that we originally bondoed right there, and it's still showing up slightly. So I'm going to put another coat of Bondo on that to get that to go away. Now that door is all sanded. I'm just gonna feel it real quick to make sure all edges feel smooth, and then I'll set that one aside to be ready to be sprayed here in just a moment. Inspection light has discovered another tiny little nick that I don't want to leave there, so I'm going to fill this one too. And once again, Bondo, this is the stuff that's gonna fill little tiny imperfections like this where spackle will not. And It dries really fast, sands really easy, and fills little tiny nicks and dings like that. All right, I'm gonna give you a couple tips when I'm spraying my top coat. Now, on these new doors, when it comes to the cracks and stuff, I kind of angled my gun to get it on these edges and get it in the cracks, but you don't want to overbuild in the cracks. Otherwise, you could get the product filling and bridging the gap. On the final coats, I'm going to be spraying it straight up and down so I don't get any more product down into the crack of the doors. Oh, here we go, getting ready for final coat backside of the doors. Take a look at that, like glass. So that's gonna gel out, be an amazing finish. So I'm blowing these things off, dusting them off. Then I'm hitting it with my duster brush just in case the blower didn't get anything off, and then re-blowing it one more time. Take it, inspect it, make sure it's everything you like. Good to go. All right, now we're down to our final step, and that is actually painting the faces of the doors with our final coat. So this is another important process. One thing I like to do prior to spraying my final coat is, because I've been sanding a lot and spraying a lot, I go in, wash my hands, make sure my hands are nice and clean, because I'm handling the back sides of these doors, which is the top coat on the back sides of the doors, and you want to do that with clean hands. So here we go. All right, there you have it. Our doors are all done. All 6 doors are done. I'm gonna wait till tomorrow. I'm gonna just deliver them to the customer, all finished and complete. Some simple tips and tricks painting cabinet doors that are bare wood using water-based 1K PU products that are sprayed with an airless sprayer. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell if you haven't done so already. Simple way to help support our channel. It's free, simple, and easy to do. It just allows you to be notified every time we come out with a new video. Also hit the notification settings to allow you to get notified, by YouTube when Paint Life TV comes out with a new video. If you've enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up. And if you got any questions or comments about this process that I went through painting cabinet doors, leave them down in the comment section below. We love reading your comments and answering your comments and helping you guys out here right on Paint Life TV. And like we always say, we'll see you on our next video. Out.